Well, what's going on, fans and haters? Lakers pulled the somewhat miracle in making the playoffs after looking dead for most of this year. Uh, Quick talks. D'Antoni. I guess he's done all right. It took some time to adjust. And there were some games where it's like, man, this team doesn't look like they're going anywhere. They're just barely pulling it out, or the refs. I mean, the Lakers were getting some calls. I'll admit there were some undeserving wins during this season, and I can't say it's be proud that they're like 7 or 8 games over 500, barely making the 7th seed. But with all the crap that happened this year, and everyone saying that Lakers aren't making the playoffs or they're not worth anything, well, they at least did something. They are nowhere near the championship caliber team that we all thought they were. Unfortunately, a lot of things happen, such as injuries, such as chemistry, such as nothing clicking right. The big issue with that? Well, we can just say that things just weren't going well. Kobe Bryant's injury, of course that hurts. The guy carried this team on his back. I really thought this year, I'm not saying he will be the MVP, or I'm not one of those homers to vote for MVP, but at least in the conversation of a guy who carries his team the way Kobe Bryant did, I thought he was a warrior throughout the whole season, despite the struggles and issues this team went through. Yeah, the bench was thin to begin with. I mean, Metta World Peace gets hurt. He miraculously recovers. Jordan Hill is out for the year. That was, I think, our best forward off the bench, in my opinion. Better at rebounding and posting up than some of the other forwards we have. Earl Clark was starting a lot of these games, at least it felt if you're watching them. Gasol was just ineffective. But suddenly they've come on as of late. Steve Blake has played better. Jody Meeks, not your true shooting guard, even though he can shoot. Definitely not that Kobe type of shooting guard where you see him taking most of the shots. Team's got to play like a team against the Spurs. And if you asked me a few weeks ago, would the Lakers beat the Spurs, and I'd say no. They'd have no chance. They definitely would have no chance against the Thunder had they lost to the Houston Rockets the night before. But they beat the Rockets in miraculous fashion. They were making shots, and they played with heart. I thought this team was left for dead, but they got heart. We give credit where credit's due. I thought they weren't making the playoffs with how things were going. But it is what it is. We got through. On to the Spurs. They're not even 100%. This is probably the best first-round matchup possible for the Lakers in terms of winnable series. No, I'm not guaranteeing a series win, and I'm not guaranteeing anything, but the Spurs are vulnerable. They've been playing not so well in the last few weeks. They obviously had to get rid of Steven Jackson. It sounded like there was some locker room issues. He was complaining about playing time. They signed in Tracy McGrady, who we really don't know how good or not he's going to be. He hasn't played much the last few seasons. I know he's played a bit, but he hasn't. I believe this season he's been just free agent sitting, playing overseas at times. You don't know what you're going to get with him, but we know Manu Ginobili's out. They've been playing with Kawhi Leonard, who's played well for them, Danny Green. Greg Popovich, a well-respected coach in this league. I can respect this style of play and what he does. Everyone criticizes him for sitting his starters, sitting the players, and even throwing games at times. But, hey, he's a well-respected coach. I'm not going to question his decisions when he knows what he's doing with his team. I mean, if I'm coaching the game of basketball, I coach the way he would. Really boring, slow, fundamental basketball. That's how I am if I'm coaching. And I've always respected that style. I'm not saying the Lakers need to go to that, but just saying, he's one of those smart coaches, and that's how I would be coaching basketball. Duncan is still playing well. Age is just a number for him. Tony Parker hasn't been up to form, been hurt. They're injured, and they are not 100%. I think if Pau Gasol and Dwight Howard are on form the way they have been the last few games, the Lakers got a real good chance at making the series interesting. They're still the underdogs, but the Spurs being hurt, they're not being their 100% health. I think the Lakers can force probably 6 games. I think they have a good chance at doing that. I don't know about win the series. The guard play is inconsistent. We don't really have a backup guard, honestly. The only bench we have is Antoine Jamison, who's been pretty good as a 6th man. He's been playing better, but we don't really have a guard. I mean, Darius Morris, Andrew Gowdlock, some draft picks from a few years ago. They haven't done so much. we have a thin bench. We're another injury away from being screwed even more. Not screwed as in referees, but screwed as in just in terms of bodies and who can play on the court. So, Lakers, they got to have some heart. They got to show that intensity they've had the last 5 or 6 games where they wanted it. It'd be interesting if they pulled some miracles, but realistically, I still have the Lakers losing this series. I think they can be competitive. I think it's a lot more interesting compared to a few weeks ago, but I still think there's some incompetence with this team. They've had a good run. Unfortunately, this whole season and expectations are bad, just like the expectations for Shabazz Muhammad was at UCLA. Disappointing team overall. Los Angeles has been pretty disappointing in sports, minus the LA Kings, who made that run the way they did. I don't think the Lakers are capable of doing that, but you never know, right? Lakers, they got to play better, and they got to play the way they have the last few games. I'll talk when the series is over. I'll tell it to you guys later, but let me know what you guys think of the series. Spurs, I still think, despite their injuries and despite not being at full strength, I think they're the better team still. The Lakers have kept it competitive, but I don't think they can do it for a 7-game series. Just feel there's going to be 1 or 2 collapses in between. Probably Spurs in 6. That's what I see. Let me know what you guys think of the series. We'll see you guys later, and I will talk to you guys when the series is over, win or lose. See you guys later.